All right, I'm here today with the #1 dead horse beater, the man who was the first and maybe still the only person to build a squadron to maximum capacity, which is currently sitting at 500 members. The squeaky toy riding Latvian space cowboy himself, Sir Yamiks Esquire. How are you?
Always with the Esquire. Well, being an Imperial, yes, I suppose I can be, but that's kind of a low standing rank. But whatever, moving on then. Yes, well, doing just fine. And you, perhaps, yes?
Yeah, all good. So far, so good. Man, I'm absolutely beautiful, man. We sitting here in this Anaconda, man. Anaconda again, man. What made you choose this ship?
Sort of laziness. First of all, this is my second account. It is used for filming the deep space things and so on and so forth. And I was literally in the middle of just traveling to a place to look at things and filming things at one point or another. And I thought, well, you know, combat and talking ends pretty badly with me, or for me, oftentimes. Exploration could be easy, so, you know, yeah, that's gonna be quality content, folks. Exploration for an hour or more. So strap in, folks, and get your piss buckets and whatnot else handy. It's gonna be a ride. A long one.
All right, so where are we going today?
I'm just gonna, let's see, through the codex, I was actually looking up a couple of things I could look up and film, and or rather have not filmed, and there was one specific planetary thing beside the two worms that we really haven't seen before. So yeah, before codex, we didn't even know that that was a thing, and I don't. Give me a second. I'll take a look at what the damn thing was called. But yeah, a planetary, the thingamajiggy. In a moment. Oh come on!
First jumper.
Codex game. Right.
First jump puts us on the neutron highway. I dig it.
Ampora plant, or whatever you pronounce that thingamajig. Anyways, yes, that's something I do want to take a look at least, and hopefully it will be in a bright side of the planet. Probably not, knowing my luck, but well, you never know. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much the plan.
Okay. And I love that the first thing we're doing is hopping into the neutron highway. How many jumps out are we?
About 42, so that's gonna take approximately enough time. And what else? Okay. And of course, I didn't get the scoop, so that's fun times for me. And yep, turning around in Anaconda.
The loop of shame.
No, I wouldn't say loop of shame. It was just a failed scoop, or rather, incomplete scoop. That's fun. Yep.
Okay. Hey, so I was taking a look at your videos. Your Elite Dangerous videos go back about 2 years. Oh, you started off covering, yeah. Well, as far as I could tell.
Yes, that's when I actually started making properly videos for Elite Dangerous. Before that, I made 2 videos specifically for 1 or 2 things, and that was about it. So yeah.
Okay. Well, it looks like you started off covering a lot of different games, and then you dropped the top 5 ships in Elite Dangerous video, and it just blew up. What well, first,
yeah,
go ahead.
No, it didn't blow up. It was just basically viewed enough. It didn't get to that number, whatever it stands right now. It was basically just over time, you know, people watching it or finding it in search and what else. And that's why it's big, because in 2 years' time, that amount of views. Sure, one video is kind of nice on the channel size, but overall it's just over time, maybe 1 or 2 views a day or less than that, and you know, you collect that eventually. So there you go.
All right. What started you playing this game in the first place? Because I noticed all these different tons of games, and then Elite Dangerous.
The Himmer! monsters, and that's mainly the thing that actually attracted me visually at first. The fact that the in-game menus are actual UIs in-game, not on your screen, as in they're not generated on your screen, because they don't follow. They are in-game elements, in-world elements. So that, as a sort of a programmer, as a game lover, as a wannabe game dev, whatever you want to call me at that point, was interesting and not common to see in games. Because usually at that point there were, of course, a few games that had in-world, option menus and what else, like Dead Space and all that stuff. But most of the time it wasn't either well made or caused a lot of performance issues. So it was rather interesting to see how well Elite ran with the sort of menus that were put in. But of course, there was also the trading aspect of the game that was rather curious for me. The fact that the Galaxy was a massive thing that added to the thing, and the experience, and also the fact that you could just simply, look around with your mouse, your character's head and what else. Unfortunately, you are not like an owl, and you can't look exactly behind you or just do 180. But hey, still what it is. So. Yeah, it's just the little details that I never saw before in any other game before, executed either this well or with such precision, let's just say.
Okay. Speaking of little details, I'm taking a look at the outside of your ship, and it looks like the paint has did its job. No, it's worn off too.
It has no cosmetics. It has no nothing. It's just absolutely stock. So yeah,
it's stock, and it hasn't been repainted in a while. I see the paint's all scraped up a little bit. This seen some light years, hasn't it?
Considering that I traveled to the center of the galaxy, somewhere around there and some more, yeah, I haven't had the time to actually dock and repair the ship, as a matter of fact, even though I have 100% hull right now. If you look at my modules, oh well, fun times can begin. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, let's take a look at the modules. Yeah, I see a little wear and tear there too. You guys have had your fun.
Quite indeed.
Why do you think it is that your Elite videos did so much better than the previous games that you were covering?
Well, the previous two games that one of them I spent a lot of time doing videos, and that's where my sort of a persona, I guess, grew, and the other one I tried getting into but failed. So that would be the PlanetSide 2 44 years, and even though I tried, but yeah, eventually just simply failed to get into Overwatch. So yeah, no, I mean, the first videos that I made for Elite Dangerous were, well, made with quite a bit of a different approach that I usually do. Now, I still do, or at least tend to make videos with relatively old style, I suppose, that I have, but generally speaking, the one thing that I changed for Elite videos, especially those the first couple of videos for Elite Dangerous when I started doing Elite 2 years ago, was insert a couple of jokes. I was trying to relatively copy or mimic, or, well, I wouldn't say copy, but mimic, I suppose, the more jokey style, or at least just put in a couple of jokes in a video that one of my fellow peers from PlanetSide days did. And then community responded quite positively to that, and well, that's where basically I thought, well, PlanetSide's fucked, so looks like the folks at Elite Dangerous seem to enjoy my style there. Well, okay, well, let's slowly but surely switch over to it, if I possibly can. And lo and behold, here I am today.
The full-grown, mature Yamiks that we all love and admire. I love giving this guy compliments because he hates them. He doesn't know what to do with them.
Grown, yes. Mature, I'm not sure. Hey, even Brian.
Nope. Don't worry, man. Join the crowd on that one. One of the things that I think is interesting about you is that you don't really seem to care about trying to gain favor with the developers when it comes to expressing your opinion about the game and the way it's evolved. Do you think at times that you come across as a little too critical of Frontier?
I intend my work to be sometimes even hypercritical, as I label it, I suppose. The point there is to make certain that my opinion on either a topic or a feature or something is clearly expressed and cannot be, misunderstood in any certain way. Because when you have a person saying, I don't like, let's say, the flight stick. Let's just take that as an example or something. Not necessarily what I think of it. Just let's take flight stick as an example, right? All right. So I don't like flight stick. It does this thing, right? Instead of that, I'm gonna say I fucking hate it, and it literally is shit at this, and this, and I'll go in at least as much detail as I possibly can to explain as to why I consider it to be shit. And and the words I'll choose rather specifically whenever I talk about things. And surprisingly about Elite Dangerous, it wasn't even, me needing to ham it up. Literally, whatever I think of a feature, if it is good, I literally call it good. If it's okay or it needs something, I say it needs something, and so on and so forth. But when it comes down to the bad spectrum of things, it's rarely just slightly bad. Oftentimes, it's horrible. So, yeah, I literally don't need to even, overreact, I guess, or just overstate things. It's just find a good term for this piece of crap and voila. So yeah, but okay, I forgot what was the main question. So there you go. Yeah,
well, part of that
again. Sorry.
Part of that was sometimes do you think you're a little too critical of Frontier?
Am I too critical of Frontier, a company? So no, I don't think I'm ever overcritical of a company. When it comes down to individuals and so on and so forth, then maybe. But then again, I never really address anyone, specifically. I try to always just say, this either game developer, insert job title or something like that, not being too specific on things or whatever, even though I may know who is responsible for certain things, I try to always, rather almost never mention, individuals and what it does, because again, it's relatively speaking, it's still a team effort. There's the game maker, or rather, when you think of a game maker, there's always more than just one person. There's the designer who thinks up the way to implement something. There's the director who says that this needs to be put in place. Now, producer force designers to design. Then designers just, as I said, design things and force the game programmers, as they are called in Frontier, or just simply programmers to implement something. And then there are, of course, QA testers who test the thing for certain cases and whether or not it works. So it is always, almost always, depending on the team size and what else, team effort. So can't exactly fault exactly one or two things on one person as much as you'd like it. So it's also fair to just blame the whole fucking team, because hey, they're working together. That's a collaborative thing, and if you fuck up, well, guess what? You all fucked up. I mean, that's just like in school, right? You have school projects,
sure.
and you have that one or two guys that are really good at things, and then there are rest of the bunch that are slackers. And if everything's screwed up, then the good guy's still gonna get blamed for all of it. So, yeah. And slackers, well,
Okay.
they will get even more from their peers. But that's internally. Anyways, that's the...
Okay.
But no, I don't think I'm too critical on Frontier. You can never be too critical on fucking companies. Because let's be honest, they're all just soulless bastards. I mean, companies, you know. Anyways.
It's weird the way you can break it down, because not just you, anybody, because yeah, the individuals which companies are made up of, you know, you can't judge them too harshly. But then the company as a whole, those individuals working together, then you can start pushing forward some of that criticism on it, and it doesn't seem as bad. It doesn't seem as cruel, or whatever you want to, whatever word you want to put in there. But that's just kind of how it is. Anyway, one thing I think they have going for them, Frontier, is at the moment they give you the best experience when it comes to flying. As far as the mechanics, it's not the most realistic. It doesn't allow you to look at anything other than the cockpit, but the mechanics are solid. It has a good balance between simulation and accessibility. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that most people would probably agree with that. But if anybody could dispute that, it would be you. Would you dispute that? And if so, where is it lacking as far as the flying mechanics?
I wouldn't say lacking, right? If we, you know, depending on what or from which sort of a place the criticism comes from, you know, it's always a subjective part or objective, depending on, again, your standpoint. For example, if your objective standpoint would be, you know, the closer to reality as possible, the better, right? Then, yeah, then in that case, Elite Dangerous certainly is failing in basically all accounts aside from maybe displaying something, but even then it's just off. But Elite Dangerous as a flight model, is it good? Yes. Is it realistic? No. As a matter of fact, the way I describe Elite's flight model in general would be an arcadey take on a flight sim. It's not a true flight sim. It's, again, arcadey. Again, you lose momentum as you go forth in space where there's no drag, and yet you lose speed. So there is that thing. There are not exactly full Newtonian physics at play.
Well, let me insert something here. There was a I don't mean to cut you off, but there was a guy who had said something to the effect of, in the old Elite Dangerous, or Elites, as I recall, they had those Newtonian. Yeah, they said in combat that meant flying at each other and then taking long amounts of time to turn around to come back and joust at each other and repeat the process. So it's kind of it sounds like he was saying it's a necessity we need to this inertia that slows us, or this stifled inertia where we don't just drift off forever, non-Newtonian physics.
Now the thing is, this is a video game, right? And for video games you have to sacrifice realism or functionality for actual, you know, gameplay feel. And well, the funny thing is, in gameplay or game design speak, oftentimes when you make the game less realistic, it feels eventually more realistic. Again, the good example is of, let's say, of first-person shooters, right? Would you like your video games, Half-Life, Call of Duty, or whatnot else, to have limited sprint speed, or all the other little details? Of course not. And yet, you kind of feel, each of these games in a way more immersive, fun, and sometimes even realistic, depending on how far you go. And then you play something like ARM, right? Which even that military simulator thingamajig, I hate it. But regardless, no, I hate its engine.
Do you?
Whatever.
Okay.
It is, more realistic. Even it takes, well, some liberties with some things in its engine, in its design, in order to, allow player or user in this case, because it is intended to be a sim or whatever, to be more realistic, at least feeling. So for Elite Dangerous, when it comes down to it, the arcadey feel for Elite's flight model definitely brings specifically intended gameplay the developers have chosen, and for that I do respect the decision. So for what they intended the gameplay to be, they have achieved, and that is one of the definitely strong suits of Elite. The flight model is solid, and for what it is designed to do, well, the game has achieved. On the other hand, I oftentimes say that I prefer Star Citizen's flight model, as a matter of fact, and I still do. In some regards, when it comes down to UI and aiming, yeah, now that is my one nitpick, but I still kind of like the fact that, Star Citizen has the shields being split in, the side shields, the top, bottom, front and back, what else, and things like those, more fidelity. But then, there are certain details of what Star Citizen does that are absolutely so yeah.
You know what? Just listen to the way you talk, and you mentioned something earlier about programmer. Are you, or were you, a programmer at some point?
All I'm gonna say from the private stuff is that I know programming, and I ever since I was a kid wanted to be associate my life with games. Ever since I first played my first game, Duke Nukem 3D, back when I was probably 5 years old or something like that. At that moment, I knew that I love computers, I love video games, and I'll do all I can in order to be either closer to it or, basically live and breathe it. So, as a kid, thinking, okay, building computers is also pretty fun, so that'd be nice to have as a profession. And then later on, games and so on and so forth, the scope of my knowledge of, the industry and how things are made, obviously, were learned. So programming became another, achievable sort of I suppose skill and thing that should be learned, and I did. So yes, I still remember digging through the fucking DirectX and OpenGL APIs 1 month for each just to learn it, and oh my god, it's just so much. But anyway, that's
it is.
But, yeah, there you go. Yes,
it is.
Yamiks knows programming, but haven't done that in a while.
I've kind of got, well, not probably anything close to you got, but I spent a little bit of time in school long time ago trying to learn programming because I wanted to be close to video games and maybe work in them, kind of like you were saying, but I found I didn't have the talent for that. I ran a 5-line program that I wrote, executed it, and then 5 pages of errors because I left out a comma or something. That's what I knew it wasn't for me. That was a wrap for me as soon as it happened.
That's literally quitting too early, because it's funny how movies represent programmers, hackers, and all that stuff, or people that just that's the funniest thing, most unrealistic thing in the world. When your code, first of all, is correct the first time you finish writing it. Also, the fact that you touch type constantly, which, let's be honest, most of is a valuable skill, but I to this day don't really have learned it. And also that on first compilation of your code, it works 100%. That's right there, bullshit. Any coder will tell you it's bullshit.
I will counter you with this. I'm less of a technical guy and more of a storyteller, and that's how I ended up in film school, and that's how I ended up taking the storytelling aspect with my love of video games and doing YouTube.
Well, we come from different backgrounds indeed, and there are definitely stories that we can take. Just go on a whole life's adventure and just end up in a place that you never really thought you would, and definitely I am in such a position. Yes,
it's kind of a cool thing that we all come from different backgrounds. That way we can hit these video games and cover them from different angles instead of the same angle, which would be boring. You know, a lot of people, when they jump into systems, they slow down at the stars. I never understood that, why you like have to come to a stop, or I just turn down or left or right to avoid the star.
Technically, well, as far as I have tested every ship, and indeed I have tested every ship in Elite Dangerous, you cannot ram a star if you start pulling out or away or whatever.
I do it all the time.
So you have to literally
That's
just
the only way I
wait
do it.
until your ship starts moving quickly, and then start turning, and then you slam into it. So basically, if you ever slam into a star after jumping, it's your fault.
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree. Hey man, so we got a few tidbits about the future Elite content, and I mean tidbits for real.
Yeah.
Fleet carriers, and we got some things coming up for the noobs. Other than that, it's the mystery box for 2020. What are you hoping will be in the box, man?
Let's see. At this point, just like with everything else, Yamiks doesn't particularly care to speculate, really. There are obviously some hints at specific features of the game, but in general, my approach when it comes down to the future of any game really is just to ignore all the whispers and potential rumors about things, and just aggressively shit on hype, because this is the thing with us as human beings. Whenever we hear something that we like, be announced, released, or just made, right? We have we have that ideal in our minds, and that ideal would never be completed, never ever.
Sure.
Because there are obviously lots of ideas that we all have about every game out there. So yeah, we have our own perception as to what would be perfect, what would be great. And that idea, once you start thinking about it, once you start actually composing it, and sort of putting it as a memory in your head, and then when it actually comes out and it doesn't match that, well, what do you think happens? In worst case scenario, well, No Man's Sky happens, as a matter of fact.
The Comeback Kids.
And other examples as well. But the point is, my approach is always just, okay, they released something suddenly, and it's good. Oh, well, that's good. All right, that's awesome. If it's bad, well, then at least I didn't get hyped about it, so I'm less mad about it, or that they didn't release something I liked. So I'm just dealing with literal reality and facts at the point when it comes to, rather than needlessly speculate about things.
So
sure,
you're a reserved judgment kind of guy, so that you're not disappointed by high expectations. I'm
just a random wanker who tends to get also ideas in mind as well. But yeah, I
isn't that also
constantly try to suppress it.
Isn't that also saying that you have little hope for good things, that you don't have any expectations?
Yeah, no. This word hope for me is also sort of partially related to hype. So no, I deal with reality and expectations as they are there, rather than just hoping, dreaming, expecting something great. Because oftentimes in life, you go to school and you hope, you expect you're gonna become a great deal, and you end up basically shoveling shit in some barn. Yeah, that leads you to probably some pretty cynical, bad, and whatever opinions you may have towards either the fellow man or whoever wronged you, or perhaps the world. So yeah, I don't know, that's just my life philosophy, I suppose, in some ways.
So the difference between hope and hype for you is just O and Y. In some ways, yeah, I suppose. Again, you really can debate, philosophy here, but honestly, I don't particularly give a fuck. So, okay, well, let's cover the biggest controversial topic in Elite Dangerous. Space legs. Are you for them? Are you against them? Give me an opinion. Don't say, well, you know, whatever it'll be will be.
First of all, it's not the most controversial. Have you seen the forum threads? Have you seen the Reddit threads of open versus solo?
Yeah, but that's
is the
only
most controversial.
I think
thing. Trust me.
If you're into BGS, sure, but overall, I think I don't want to give a percentage of the people that are into BGS, but I wouldn't say that that question is bigger than space legs. But let's say it is. Let's start with that then. Open BGS and all that. I think I know your feelings on that, but go ahead and tell us.
Wait, we're now jumping from space legs that I didn't answer to now open in BGS.
We'll come back to space legs, but since
okay,
BGS
so open
is
in
an
BGS,
interesting
right?
topic.
So personal opinion, I've always said that if I had to choose one game mode for Elite Dangerous, and honestly I would like to see only just one game mode for Elite, and that would be open only. The reason for that is obviously there's just more gameplay in it, obviously, because solo, no. Private, also no. Managing private, no, just no. So, even though I play in solo and all that stuff, oftentimes it's literally just for pragmatical reasons, because I don't want to be either disturbed by someone or killed by someone as I'm filming.
As you're making a video, yeah.
So that's the pure pragmatical approach. But if I were to look at the game as a, what would be best for its gameplay, well, splitting people between solo, private, and open, well, I find those modes to be just inexplicably pointless. Again, I understand there are people that can't play Elite Dangerous with, open or private even, because they have either shit net or they have shit PCs and whatnot else, and for some reason solo is the only one that, allows you to play the game. But
or they just want to be solo, don't want to be bothered, same way you don't want to be bothered.
If it literally impacts you that much, I'm not certain you're getting the best gameplay out of the game even at that point. So that's the issue. But
that's not you for to decide, is it?
Whatever. So open would be for me the most important gameplay there. So yeah. Let's see what else. BGS. Personally, I aggressively hate BGS. I cannot stand it. I understand people like it. And this is purely personal opinion. I absolutely hate looking at randomly generated numbers, randomly generated names that literally have no meaning or value, affecting very little or nothing at all. That's how I see BGS, and I absolutely hate it for it. Again, it literally has no visual impact for you. That's just, for me, all I see when I see or hear BGS, it's just looking at a spreadsheet for which the numbers change, where people can, kind of poke at some of the numbers and change them in some ways. That's it. That's how I view the BGS. And that's why I hate it. Of course, if you like numbers, if you like that sort of a idea that, I like this randomly generated name in the game, I'm gonna support it for some reason. Sure, it's your right and that's your gameplay. Fine, whatever. It's you. For me, I need more. I need way more for me to be engaged in that front as well.
Yeah, you know what, I feel you on that. BGS feels like busy work. So, and I think I know the answer to this question too, but I think a lot of people would like to know. Mouse and keyboard, holders, gamepad, or controller?
Mouse and keyboard, mostly because I've literally just played every game with mouse and keyboard, and for me, coming as a Latvian, a middle to okay, I guess, well-off person is just buying extra accessories for games on literally your non-existing allowance. That's a no-go. So you use what you have, and mouse and keyboard has always been there. I'm super familiar with the setup, and using that for the benefit of the game and whatnot else. Yeah, it's or rather as a control for a game. Yeah, that's pretty much how I've adapted. So there you go.
Is that what nebula is that in front of us?
I have no idea, honestly.
Just looks a little
pretty.
equine. I was like, maybe the horse head nebula, but you know, that's
Something
how little I know about these things. But now, you know, I kind of dig what you're saying. You use what you have. That's one of the things I always appreciated about people who have. And this not you, but this is more me. And a lot of people, the less you have, the more creative you can be, just because you have to be. You have to make the most out of the least. That's one of the things I respect. Making the most out of the least. I dig it. But that leads to another question of kind of flight assist on or flight assist off.
Always flight assist on, mostly because I'm just a scrub pub piece of shit that doesn't get good.
You don't get good in the galaxy.
Yes, Yamiks is pumping videos rather than getting good. Yes.
That's
I try
true.
to, but
You are.
well, you know, yeah. Attention is split on things, so not enough training and what else. Never been really much of a try hard. I usually poke fun at try harding. So.
You don't try hard, you poke fun at try hards.
Oh,
There's a difference in try hards and Elite Dangerous than most
literally
games.
all about in some ways. So.
Were you trying hard in that video with me, you, and the pilot?
No. If I really wanted to try hard, I would do what any sensible person would do, and that would be just take the most proficient ship for a proficient job. Instead, I just went with the most stupid ship for the most wrongest of wrong ships for the tasks for that particular ship. So the wrong ship for the wrong job. There we go.
That's hilarious, because that's exactly what I told the pilot you would do. He was saying that you would get the most proficient ship. I was like, no, he's gonna get the goofiest ship for the job. Hands down.
Yeah,
that's what you did.
I honestly didn't expect to jump that much, so I was like, okay,
I didn't
it
either.
should be fine, right? I'm not gonna, it's not gonna be a contest to get to places quickest, I guess, but whatever, at least I'll be fucking safe, but oh no, it was jumping competition. Great.
If you guys haven't seen it, go check that out. If it's not up right now, it'll be up a week at the max. That's the pilot's channel. Go check that out. One question that I asked him that always comes up is for everybody that didn't see your horse ripper video, which was a cinematic tour de force, by the way.
Oh god, it's a mess, man.
What are your specs, man?
Oh god. Okay, so just to everyone, start googling things. First of all, let's see, which case was it? Oh god. Oh, right. I actually have manual for the fucking case, right? So Be Quiet's Dark Base Pro 900 case. After that, we have the Threadripper 2950X from AMD. Yes, as a base for the motherboard, that'd be the MSI's X399 Creation. And let's see what else. Shit tons of RAM from. I think it was Trident Z, right? Plextor's NVMe SSD in PCI slot. Let's see what else. As for the cooling, I have Enermax LickTech 2 for the Threadripper, and it works fine at this point. Even though the first LickTech didn't really work well. The second iteration seems to be going just fine for now. I'll see later on, but looks positive, so that's good. That aside, I think it was Inno3D's RTX 2080 Ti. So yeah,
2080 Ti.
15,000
Okay.
subscriber milestone. That was my big build, and you know, the big rig that I built and even made a video boot. So there you go. That was definitely interesting to listen to, right, folks? Yes. This is why I always resort to just putting stats and things as a text on screen rather than reading them out, because I'm one of those people that whenever you say some sort of a number, even in Latvian, my mind goes blank.
You tune out?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I need it to be written down because I can't follow that anymore. After the hundreds, it's like, nope, I'm tuning out. There you go.
Any plans on initiating some of this new Ryzen technology into your horse ripper?
I'm running a fucking Threadripper. That's already that. If you mean by the new Threadrippers, I mean the new Ryzen, technically second gen chips, the 3000 whatever's. I already have a PC running. It is as good as you know, the new best Ryzen. So I'm fine. Absolutely fine. Well, sure, fine. On gaming, I'm not gonna get as much frames, perhaps in some ways, in the single thread and what it tells, but it's, after 100 frames a second on most games, I'm fine. You know?
Yeah, I can see that. Especially coming from console. I'm from the console. You know, that's my background.
Oh God!
Hey, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth.
Nah.
You know, the beautiful thing about consoles is you don't have to worry about keeping up with all this new tech, which is expensive every couple years.
Don't need to either.
And it does come every couple years.
The misconception with the PC is, it costs a lot. Well, it's mostly because the people with, you know, that choose to build powerful rigs tend to also, you know, showcase them. But when it comes down to it, actually my first PC was absolute trash. It was sub, let's see, PlayStation 1, I think, specs even. Or maybe it was the same. Well, the point is, you can easily build a PC that will beat a console with the same
Not next generation. Doesn't look like you'd be able to do that so easily next generation.
I'm not going to speculate about it.
Well, they've all put their equipment out, the hardware lists out, and they look pretty beefy. And now if they're 2020 PCs, then consoles, then yeah. Now if they're 2021 or beyond, then by that time they'll be a little bit old, but not.
See, consoles whenever they get
relevant.
released, whenever consoles get released, they've been in production, or rather not in the production, but in research already at least 3 years or so. So when they get released, they have literally about 3 or 4 even years old tech inside for most of them.
Well, think about it like this: the Xbox and I think the PlayStation as well are supposed to have the. And I might be wrong on that. Are supposed to have the new Navi AMD GPUs, which are capable of ray tracing. Now that tech hasn't come out for PC yet, so they won't be quite as behind as you're making it sound, but nevertheless, there's always going to be something bigger and better.
So you're saying it will be capable of ray tracing, right?
Supposed to be.
See, GPUs have been able to do ray tracing things since sub 2000, well, early 2000s. Before that, even the main question you need to answer is that ray tracing actually not a slideshow?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's a trade-off, as with everything else.
Because you know, tracing just one ray, you know, one pixel on your screen technically counts as ray tracing, right? But that's the point. So the claim that it'll have this and that and what it does, It depends on what frame rate. Depends on what quality, what size. Blah, they are. You get the point there.
All right, we're getting a little bit beyond my computer knowledge. Like I said, I've only been at this about a year and a half, something like that. So I digress on that issue. For everybody that don't know, Commander Exegius was the first big YouTuber to shout me out and post one of my videos on this channel. Yamiks was the first to invite me to a collaboration video, which really pushed my subscribers, and I appreciate that, and I thank you.
Wait, that was the Star Citizen? No, that was the Rules of Elite, I think, right?
The Rules of Elite. Go check that out if you guys haven't seen it. That was a fun little video, so I appreciate that. And also thanks for everybody that came over and subscribed and supported the channel. When you look around, you don't see a ton of collaboration going on in gaming, especially in Elite, but in gaming in general. Well, but it is there. It does happen, but in relatively small numbers. You, on the other hand, have done a lot of videos with other Elite Dangerous YouTubers, which I think is dope for the creator community.
Uncanny, many, projects have been done. So,
yeah. And I think it's dope for the creator community as well as for the audience who might otherwise never become aware of some of the people that have been on your videos. Why is it that you in particular choose to reach out to other content creators and extend those invites to work on something together?
Right. So essentially the collaborative drive, or rather the wish to sort of collaborate with folks as for the videos and so on and so forth doesn't happen in gaming, as you stated before, a lot, actually almost ever, unless you really just basically pal around with somebody or know someone from childhood. That would be really the only sort of instance when you see some sort of big collaborative works. There are some exceptions, obviously, but well, there was one specific fandom, not gaming fandom, that actually pretty much did collaborative works almost as a default thing. And I was rather intrigued as well as inspired by it, and that made me think of, well, yeah, might as well get to learn and then meet folks that do videos and so on and so forth, and invite them to work together on a project. So I extend, the let's just say olive branch, come voice something for me, and you get sort of a plug there on your own as well. And then basically we build bridges, and from there on, I essentially thus far haven't done only collaborations with only a few of the Elite creators, and through collaborative work, first of all, the bridge is built, a positive sort of experience, hopefully at least, and from then on, not only you learn sort of the person, or you learn to know the person a bit more closer, and you just also have the contact. You can either establish some sort of relation and whatnot else, and as a matter of fact, it has tremendously helped, especially when it comes down to traveling to UK with different conventions and whatnot else. So yeah, but yeah, it was just partly to build bridges. So yeah, making videos, and I was like, oh, okay, well, hey, let's go make a video, and then why not? It's definitely a better icebreaker than an actual just hey hello in the Twitters or hey hello in the Discords, right?
That's true.
So I don't know. It's I don't know. It was just no one was doing it. Kind of weird. Well, there were a couple of instances of folks working together, but again, unless you actually sort of know each other through some weird coincidence or through common history, you probably won't see people just reaching out to others and working together with them.
That's true, and I think part of that is no matter how well people are doing, a lot of people are intimidated by bringing in somebody into their show, and maybe from the fear that they'll steal the show, like from a personality perspective, like maybe their personality may
I would
theirs.
rather say people are more timid than you think, because reaching out to someone who you don't even know at all, right, and saying, hey, you perhaps want to work on a video together, or rather I invite you to come and voice this little thing on my end, or can you help me on something or what else. That sort of approach we tend to stray away from. Whatever. I spreche English very good today, yes. But yeah, it's just mostly just the timidness and I don't know, maybe even sometimes it's just envy at someone else working. You specifically won't invite this person because they have either more views on that or they have more respect in something, and you'll just go for, I don't know, those that you perceive to be beneath you, but
they go for the low-hanging fruit.
There are definitely different reasons as to why people tend to avoid such collaborative works and what it does, but it's also extra work, so that is something to take into account as well.
That's true. Okay, I could dig it. I can dig that, man.
Mostly it's just being timid. Mostly it's just I don't want to poke that person. I'm scared of this person.
Okay. Yeah, man. So you're famous or infamous, depending on your perspective.
Depends who you ask. And even then, depends when you ask that too.
It does. It really does. But in those two categories, famous, infamous, one thing that you are famous or infamous for is for cursing and risque humor on your channel. And I've seen some folks say that they will watch more of your channel content if not for that. But you've also got a crowd that's kind of there because of it. What's your own perspective on that?
When making my content, I set out originally back when I made videos, when I just started making videos, rather, to not cater to the taboos. Again, there are specific, lines, what else, and obviously restrictions that are still not allowed to be either shown, done, or whatnot else. Be that because, again, YouTube has its own policies or whatnot else, or my personal morals and so on. But the point is, I always try to just go for the more coarse approach at things. This, I suppose it kind of harkens back to my childhood, whenever I used to just say a bad word, swear or something like that, and having adults say, don't swear around and whatnot else, and I'm just looking at the people and thinking, why all of a sudden this word, for some reason, this particular sound, or rather provokes a specific aggressive aggressive reaction from everyone around you. So that sort of approach, I was just somewhat baffled in some ways, and today, even now, it's kind of weird still. You say fuck and suddenly everyone turns your head and just gasps, but no, he did not say that. Oh, dear gods, what a filthy being, and that sort of approach that context doesn't apparently matter to folks that just think, certain words are bad. I've always said that, it matters how you say things, the context, rather than with what words, with what language you say it. Of course, there are cases, communication and so on and so forth, and also the tact that oftentimes comes with it that, kind of needs to be considered too. And yeah, it's always communications, but it's more to do with the social, I guess it kind of goes back to the whole social aspect, taboos and everything like that, and me just literally shitting on it. and not liking it at all. It's literally one of the things I absolutely hate. Just that suddenly, somebody doesn't like how I say things rather than what I say. That's the thing. And when it comes down to the jokes and whatnot else, the way I make them, yeah, I suppose there are certain things I say and that I repeat and whatnot else. But the thing is, you know, I'm not a comical genius. I try to make comedy in my, or at least in different ways I can. But you know, we have our routines, we have our niches, I suppose, that we personally like best, or that we can actually work in the best. So, yeah. Never gonna be the silent, you know, movie comedian ever. I'm never gonna be great at that, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I don't know. But there you go. I have my style, and that's where I feel comfortable. So that's what I use, you know. Try to experiment. But it is what it is. So there you go. That's the answer as to why specific jokes work and why do I, you know, tend to go for them. I guess.
Okay. All right. Now we arrived. We've arrived. We arrived. Now we've arrived. So, yes. Where are we at?
Some kind of system. I have no idea what really has other than that. Really, I'm just trying to. Oh, for fuck's sakes! Just find me a goddamn body that I wanted to find. Damn it! Stupid game. Meh.
Yeah, see.
Yes.
Well, while you're trying to find that, what other games do you still cover?
Continuously, well, obviously there's the Star Citizen that I tend to release a video from time to time. Let's see, I do plan on doing a few other games and other things. Oh, god damn it, now we got the thing. Okay, anyways, generally speaking, my channel is currently still niche. I would love it to be a bit more variety-based, but, yeah. Currently Elite Dangerous, basically. I can't really sort of mark a specific game that I'm, well, you know, doing other than Elite, specifically. There are experiments from time to time on other things, but...
Well, you're playing, don't you occasionally cover Warframe?
I tried, and I will, again, restart making a couple of videos for it, but it's one of those experiments, right? Just make a couple of videos and see how their community responds to what I make, and if it is successful, I continue. If it is not, well, then it becomes yet another game that I just simply can't get into, community-wise or viewership-wise. I could force it and so on and so forth, but it's, you know...
It's kind of what it comes down to, right? What the community responds to.
And the way you make content, whether or not you are interesting enough for them, or you need to change something, or perhaps there's just something else wrong with you. I don't know.
I like how you put things.
Well, hey, you know,
one of my favorite guys.
There are plenty of wrong things with me, so you know I kind of have to consider that more often than actually the way I make content, oftentimes as well. I don't know.
You know what's hilarious to me is before I met you, just like when I used to hear you on the Creators Roundtable, you know, when everybody would get together and chop it up back and forth about Elite Dangerous, I thought you would be one of the people I would never get along with. But now that I've met you, like, you one of the coolest dudes. Like, I've got more videos with you than anybody. You cool as hell, man. Don't let that go to your head, because, you know, kind of a big deal.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm gonna cut those two sentences closer together.
Insert a large Yamiks pause. No. Just put in a picture of Calculon doing the dramatic
Calculon pause.
There you go. And thank you.
Hey man, my bad. Go ahead. I didn't cut you off.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I was done. Yes.
I thought you were gonna say something about how You also thought you might not get along with me, but yeah, here we are.
No, honestly, I rarely have that preconception of a person, to be frank. I usually look at people's work before I, decide whether or not I should work with them. And your work was rough. Let's just say, editing-wise, the shot-wise. Holy shit! Well, there were plenty of just jittering motions and so on and so forth. But there was that voice. There was that approach on, essentially explaining things, which a lot of other content creators didn't have. And well, there was that definitely respectable part, which liked. So I don't know. Again, I really try not to judge things until I get to really interact with them, which is the case for Star Citizen, and that's why and that's sort of the reason why I hate it so much, because I didn't had any sort of a big preconception of it, and once I tried it, it was absolutely horrendous. So there you go. But yeah,
well, that's cool, man.
That's
cool. You come to the table with an open mind, because not everybody's gonna do that. I was open, but didn't have a completely open mind, and I was proven wrong. And so, love it, love it, man. Hey, what are you playing? What other games are you playing that don't make it into the videos? What are you playing for personal
for
fun,
relaxing?
personal
There's the Team Fortress constantly. Actually, these days way more than usual stuff. But basically, a lot of FPS games. Yeah.
Team Fortress is still popping, huh?
Oh, plenty.
Really?
Yes. But no, I mean, it's just whatever I fancy at that point. I tried. Back when I first got my, first big PC and all that stuff, I just started getting as many different games, or rather the, more famous games at the time, and then, the more interesting games for me at the time, just trying to just run through them and learn, their stories, experience their gameplay and all that stuff. Just essentially just experiencing either whatever sort of fancy me at the time, or perhaps something that simply a lot of people recommend. No, it's just a variety. For example, right, when I made videos for PlanetSide 2, it was a first-person shooter. So I'm not gonna, go and play another first-person shooter off hours. I much rather go and play something like Dota or third-person, beat 'em ups or something like that, just to get away from that environment. Just like with a job, right? Or hobby, whatever you want to call it, right? When you are immersed in a specific sort of style of things, you don't even just want to see it after you're done, performing it, done doing something with it. As a coder, you don't go home and code some more, because that just gets you down quite a bit. You do that already enough in your day-to-day life. So you need something that, stands out, that is different. At least that's how oftentimes it is with me. And I hope I'm not gonna explode. Oh God, no!
You did better than the pilot. It was funny because right when the mics cut off, he slammed down into a high G planet that looked a lot like this one. I was surprised he didn't bust the canopy open, but it was a good moment for the video.
Well, I'm glad to provide entertainment sometimes. Oh God, I'm still destroying my ship. Why?
I promise Yamiks doesn't fly this bad regularly. For everybody that's still here listening.
I wouldn't say regular, I suppose, yeah. Don't be surprised if you see the same sort of result in my streams. just warning, just a fair warning there. Fuck, no. There we go.
Random question. Name 2 of your top movies.
Aliens and Matrix.
Both solid movies.
Well, those are sci-fi, and indeed, I am a sci-fi, maybe not nerd, but at least a connoisseur sometimes. try to watch as many of those as possible.
Wow. Look at your hole, man.
You see nothing.
It's
That's just paint. That's just paint.
On the one ship that shows all the damage.
It's just a flesh wound.
It's just a flesh wound. Your arm's off. That's funny, man. Have you ever seen the interior of the on Star Citizen, the reclaimer ship, the salvage ship?
Oh god, I don't even remember. Okay, hold on, quick Google.
Quick Google.
Because again, I try not to remember those names because they're fucking stupid oftentimes. Yes, actually, I had pretty much quite a bit of fun with that thing whenever I played with Caleb. Basically every year we kind of just pick up Star Citizen and play it on the stream for a while, and that was the ship he had. I pilot it very good. That's definitely was a good to pilot thing. Essentially, I was just scraping the planet upside down with it at one point. Let's not delve on that fact.
Nice.
I ran about it, and I don't know if they fixed it, but if you go in a reclaimer, right, and you go to one of the sleeping quarters, if you run, rather sprint, or I think even just walk, right as you are facing the beds, right, as you face one of the beds, just run straight for it, or sprint to it, or what else. At least at the time, you could literally phase through the ship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you would literally be phased through the model. So that was a thing as well. That was great. I liked it. It was Star Citizen representative, I suppose.
You know what's funny is for a second, those windows on the side of the Anaconda? Maybe I looked at it wrong, but it looked like there was some fog or like some smoke going through there, like part of the damage model, like there was smoke going through there. But that could have been my imagination.
I tend not to view the model that closely oftentimes, but maybe.
I do, just because, I'm one of the space legs guys. And that comes back, we never did answer that question. Space legs, how do you feel about it? Do you want it? Do you hate it?
Elite Dangerous just simply needs something that would be, well, at least helping the player to understand the general size and scope of things. Because right now, what is our common reference point? Our pilot seats. And you see, when you are in a Anaconda or you're in a Sidewinder, the cockpit and the menu will look all the same. That distorts your sort of perception as to how big Anaconda's a ship is and how big a small ship like a Sidewinder is. That is one of the biggest problems with the Elite's sort of artistic side of things, because every ship, even though they are amazingly huge, due to the fact that the canopies are oversized, due to the fact that you have that uncommon, falsely implemented reference point, the UI, the chair, that does kind of distort your perception of what the ship is and how big it is and how it changes whenever you buy a new one and where its dimensions are. The only time when you actually notice, that difference in flying a ship, perhaps, and that's only when you just buy it. That's when you exit the station for the first time. For a massive ship, that will be the first and only time when you actually realize, kind of have to pay attention to how I'm facing the mail slot. Or where are my wings and what else. But once you learn that, it's automatic. Once you learn it, it's automatic, and then you forget about the scale again. And SRVs, even those things are oversized. SRVs are like a massive fucking truck. And yet, it feels like a small thing. And even then, you look at the ship, it's a huge one, or it's a smaller one. Even then, you kind of have that distorted view. So, space legs, in my opinion, ever since the beginning of, me playing Elite Dangerous, I found a necessary feature of at least representing the game as it, artistically should be in some ways. But as a gameplay portion, I have a feeling that if such a feature were to be implemented, due to the fact that the Cobra engine that Elite Dangerous is running on may be preventative of making a good, solid, and stable gameplay, but who knows, maybe the developers actually worked on it and made Cobra engine, capable of first-person shooter, first-person even just running about, because, making first-person model is not as easy as you may think, because detail, textures, everything must be higher class and also more precise, because with the first person you kind of have that inclination to look at things a bit more closely and a bit more carefully, so not to sort of make it look like a complete Play-Doh playset. You have to put in a lot of work and attention to detail, which I have a fear Elite would not be capable of, but hey, if they do, good on them, and I'll celebrate it. But it requires to be in the game. That's my personal opinion. Space legs must be a thing in Elite Dangerous. Even if it is without any sort of gameplay, which unfortunately, due to the mandates in Frontier for some reason, everything has to be tied to some sort of a gameplay. I don't know.
Well, no, I agree with that. I mean, let's not have it just as a cosmetic thing.
No, that's the not multi-crew, but that's the Holomy. That's purely cosmetic right now, and everyone's fine with it.
Yeah, no, it is, but it's such a thing that probably a lot of people ignore. And on the other token, it's supposed to be there in support of something in the future, which everybody was guessing was space legs. So we'll see on that. But you know what? I don't know if you've read this article that's come out lately about space legs and Warframe, about how they use some kind of tech to fake space legs within the ship. Are you privy to that?
Never had the time to actually read upon that, so
it just came out.
Yeah, I can't really comment on it much, so sorry.
Okay, well, I won't go too deep into it, but they were basically saying that trying to do it is a super hard process that taxes your computer and the developers' resources, and so they're faking it with what they've got going on with the spaceships. Well, and that makes me kind of think that
in general are just faking many things. Indeed, actually, the lighting, shadows in games to this day are not real. The real ones would be actually ray traced shadows. So even right now, many things are faked, and as long as you can make that fakery real enough, it should work just fine. And honestly, I am interested to look at whatever the Warframe team can pull off. It'll be interesting, certainly.
Well, my point is that it's ultra hard to do, to have people walking around the ship while it's pitching and turning.
There is that gravity thing. Yes, I've actually sort of dabbled in coding little things and trying out and seeing and thinking even how that would be possible. Sure, as an amateur coder, it's kind of just magic, but still, when you start to just think what would be required for gravity, what would be required for locking on to specific things or latching onto, it kind of starts tax your own brain whenever you try to even imagine it. So yeah, I can imagine.
Imagination.
Oh God. Yes, one of those things indeed as well.
Hey man, so that Star Citizen video that I was in with you, that was a hilarious masterpiece. I've watched it a good 3 or 4 times now. Are we gonna see a sequel to that?
Me doing Star Citizen things, yes. Whether that would be with you or someone else on so on and so forth, I'm not sure. Even right now, I'm not exactly sure as to when would I do something like that. Probably when the new update or something like that comes out. I don't know. We'll see.
Nah, you can't do it without me. You can't do it without me. That's just a given.
now you have a mandate. I think that must be part of that. Yeah, definitely.
Mandate. I've mandated it.
Yeah. Sure. Now the thing is, whenever I decide upon a video specifically and so on and so forth, I don't know. It's usually sort of convenience point, you know. Whenever whoever and whatever is possible or available, then I just do it. I tend not to schedule too far in the future sort of projects, you know, collaborative projects and so on and so forth. It's just like, can we do it now? No? Okay, I'm gonna do it alone, sort of a thing. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It's hard to answer because, again, whenever I collaborate with folks, I don't want to collaborate with one person specifically too much because, again, unlike Frontier, I don't want to show favoritism. That's also a thing.
Well, you do mostly Frontier videos.
No,
anyway,
that was
a joke. That was a joke.
Yeah. Carrying on.
Any upcoming projects that you'd like to plug?
Currently, not really. Many different ideas floating around, so no, not really.
Okay. I do appreciate you inviting me on this ride in an anaconda to this place with these little weird plants around it. Any parting words for everybody watching?
Tube thingies, I don't even know anymore. What's
space tubes. Any parting words for everybody watching? Still tuned in?
Don't be a cunt. There you go. I don't know how to end videos usually. Don't judge me.
Yamiks, everybody. If you're not already subscribed, the link is going to be in the subscription. Definitely go check them out. My name is DigThat, and that's our time. Fly dirty, Commanders.
Oh my.
If you ain't up on it, real recognize real, and these pilots looking familiar. Shout out to Commander Blackout, to Diedrichs, to the Mother, to Buster Boy, and to Anthony Jackson. Big 7-Up salute, and thanks to these fine patrons of the DigThat Arts, and also members of the DigThat fam. My name is DigThat, and that's my time. Fly dirty, citizens. 077.